Hello and welcome. I'm Sani Chi and here's what happened this week. A new white paper from Taiwan's Environment Ministry has set a goal for improving the country's air quality. The goal is to cut by half PM 2.5 levels in Taiwan's air by 2030. PM 2.5 is a type of particulate air pollution that increases the risk of respiratory diseases. Fossil fuels are a major source of this type of pollution. Around 80% of Taiwan's energy mix comes from fossil fuels like coal and gas. The Taiwanese community in Toronto came out in full force at an annual charity run to call for Taiwan's inclusion ahead of the World Health Assembly.
公共卫生和健康，它不是商品，它更不是这个政治的场域。世界卫生组织是世界上最重要的卫生组织，不应该排除台湾的参与。
Running and walking under the name of Team Taiwan, the group raised $8,000 for the Mackenzie Health Foundation's annual event. The team says it hoped to show Taiwan's commitment to combating global health issues and Taiwan's determination to participate in the WHA. The head of Taiwan's representative office in Toronto also thanked Canada for openly supporting Taiwan's inclusion in the assembly. It's one of the few countries to do so. Taiwan is a country that's prone to natural disasters like earthquakes, landslides, and typhoons. To reduce risks and minimize damage from such disasters, the country not only has its official emergency response efforts, but also TCERT, the Taiwan Community Emergency Response Team. Drop, take cover, hold on, and evacuate the building. These are the basic steps to follow to stay safe during an earthquake. But for these civilians, it's about more than just protecting themselves. It's also about staying ready to help save others. They are members of TCERT, Taiwan Community Emergency Response Team, and they play a crucial role when disaster strikes.
真正重要的地方，其实是因为民间的部分，他要先想办法自己先自助，然后再公助，然后最后再是公家单位的介入。
The government launched its TCERT program in 2024 with the goal of reducing the damage and harm caused by natural disasters and to help civilians respond immediately to emergencies, given that official rescue teams usually take 3 to 6 hours to reach the scene.
慌张是每个人一定会的，但经过教育训练之后，跟我们平常的演练之后，我们把慌张的程度降低到最低，然后 经过我们的演练之后，我们在脑筋里面重复一次之后，我们把训练的成果展现出来。
Anyone can become a member of TCERT as long as they are willing to learn and help others.
No matter your age, no matter your sex, no matter your belief, everybody can join. During the emergency, maybe the elder people, they are not able to do something, but they can do to be as the logistic people. They can help to maybe to register for the checklist to see if someone is outside. People can do everything they can do.
And the rest is all up to 3 years of professional level training and continuous practice after getting qualified.
你发现2楼还有除了2楼以外，还有其他的楼层，有发现有人员在里面吗？
They need to learn how to evaluate the scope and the severity of the disaster area, and then they need to learn how to do the very initial and the very basic light rescue. So we will give them the very basic technique to save people during the emergency. And when we save the people out and get people out, they need to do some medical treatment. So they need to learn how to do the very basic medical care.
可以协助搬运。
Taiwan currently has 190 such teams across the country, at least 3 in each city and county, with the goal of training 80 more each year. More can be done to train up the entire population. But experts say the country is on the right track in promoting the importance of emergency response preparation, helping to build a stronger, more resilient society, able to face what disasters may come. Chris Ma, Alec McDonald, and Sani Chi for TaiwanPlus. The English translation of the Taiwanese novel Taiwan Travelogue has won a Literary Translation Award from the Asia Society. Author Yang Shuangzi is the first Taiwanese writer to win the Baifang Book Prize. The English version was written by New York-based translator Lin King. It's set during Japan's occupation of Taiwan and explores the relationship between two women, a visiting Japanese writer and her local Taiwanese interpreter. Taiwan Travelogue was also the first Taiwanese novel to win the U.S. National Book Award for translated literature last year. The original Chinese version was published in 2020 and won the Golden Tripod Award, Taiwan's highest literary honor. To discuss the book, Jeremy Olivier sat down with Taiwan Travelogue's English translator, Lin King.
So tell us more about this book. Who are these two main characters, and how does the historical setting of the novel shape the relationship?
So our narrator is Aoyama Chizuko, who is a young Japanese writer who's published a very popular work, and she is then invited to Taiwan to kind of give a press tour, give talks, and to write articles to be printed in Japan, telling the Japanese people what the colony is like. This is set in the 1930s. And she meets her Taiwanese interpreter, who is an even younger woman, but a very accomplished linguist, and seemingly, from Aoyama's perspective, a perfect woman who knows everything, is good at everything, and Aoyama becomes very infatuated with this young woman who she calls Qi-jiang. Whose Mandarin name is Wang Qianhe, and the story unfolds from there.
Can you talk a little bit more about the power dynamic between them?
I don't want to spoil, but the story is about Aoyama, who very earnestly, so she thinks, wants to befriend and meet the locals, the Taiwanese, the so-called islanders, at their level, and she thinks that they are at her level as well. That's like the premise with which she approaches her relationships, but as we'll see over the course of the book, Qi-jiang sees it quite differently, and she understands that there is inevitable power relation between the colonizer and the colonized, and that no matter how much goodwill there are just certain bounds that can't be overcome and certain blind spots that can't be seen. So the book uses Japanese, Taiwanese, or Hokkien, Hoklo, Taigi, whatever you want to call it, and Mandarin. But in English, because we don't have the characters, we only have the pronunciation, the romanization. I had to make decisions from the very get-go of, okay, do we confuse the reader by saying this is pronounced, Taipei now, but it was pronounced Taihoku then, and that would have been how they pronounce it in conversation. Same for the people's names. So in Japanese, Qianhe's name is Chizuru, but that's not her, all the facets of her name. So the English translation, I think, really challenges readers in some ways more so than the original, by forcing you to remember all the different pronunciations of people's names, the names of places and foods as well.
So the two protagonists of this book, they travel around Taiwan enjoying the local scenery and delicacies. Would these have been familiar to Taiwanese readers today?
I think about half of the dishes mentioned would be, and then half are very much not familiar, either because they're very regional, because they're historical, or because the final banquet involves like dishes that even Shuangzi, the author herself, had to do a lot of research to try to imagine. Some of these dishes are very much a product of our culinary history that is no longer widely available.
Why do you think that Yang Shuangzi chose a glutton as the narrator of the story?
Well, I know that part of it is personal, as in she loves to eat Shuangzi. But that also, I think she's invested a lot of research as a literary scholar into the history of Taiwanese food, and there's both the literary desire to kind of attract readers with this oh, come read about food, look how delicious this sounds, while hiding kind of this undercurrent of very serious themes about power dynamics, about interpersonal relationships, about imperialism. There's definitely that as well, as in, this is just a travelogue, come read about these two young women who eat their way across Taiwan. And there's more to that.
That was Lin King, translator of Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Shuangzi. You can watch the full interview on Zoom In Zoom Out, available at TaiwanPlus.com and YouTube. A traditional Pacific sailing canoe has completed a historic journey from Palau to Taiwan, using stars and ocean swells to navigate. As Rick Lau reports, the first of its kind journey is reviving traditional seafaring knowledge and reconnecting with ancient roots.
An enthusiastic welcome for a historic visit. As the crew of a traditional double-hulled voyaging canoe, the Alingano Maisu, arrives on Taiwan's east coast. After a 19-day sail from Palau, 1,200 nautical miles across the Pacific. Cesaro Saralur and his 11 crew piloted the vessel with ancient know-how, using the wind for power and the stars for navigation.
Well, being a voyager, and this is how we survive. This is our big ocean that we need to take care of. This is how we bring life to different places.
Like voyagers of the past, the crew lived off bananas, coconuts and dried fish on this first of its kind journey, with a vision to reconnect some of the oldest seafaring communities in the Pacific, including indigenous Taiwanese. It's along this coast in the southeast of the country where most of Taiwan's indigenous people live. Their communities have been here for millennia, long before settlers from Europe, Japan and China came to this island. And it's also widely believed that it's from these communities along this coast that the rest of the Pacific became populated, through thousands of years of migration by sea. Taiwan's indigenous people and Palauans still share elements of their language and culture. This landmark voyage described as a return by the people of Palau to the mother island.
海洋不是分隔我们的，它是连接我们的陆地。
But it's also about sharing and preserving ancient sailing and navigating techniques at risk of dying out. Joining other sailors from around the Pacific on board, Jiang Ye Hai Shaman, from Taiwan's Dao people who live on Orchid Island.
透过上千年的一个知识的累积，才造成了所有在太平洋岛屿上面有我们这些南岛语民族的一个居住。那这些航海的实践，在过去是因为西方殖民的关系，让这些知识断掉了。那透过这次航海的知识的一个复振跟重新再去建构，也让我们台湾跟南太平洋的岛屿民族能够透过海洋来重新的连接在一起。
But the Palau-Taiwan connection is under pressure. China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory, disapproves of Palau's official diplomatic relations with Taiwan, a friendship that the two countries have committed to maintaining despite Beijing's objections.
I think this voyage represents peace. It represents how people used to travel, how interconnected we are. You know, a lot of times we keep talking about how the oceans connect us. This is a demonstration of how that truly is.
Alingano Maisu means fallen breadfruit, and just as fruit that has fallen from the tree is available to everyone, this boat was built to share voyaging traditions across far-flung nations of the Pacific. Here, at the western edge of that ocean for the first time, the boat and its crew are spending more than a week visiting Taiwan's coastline communities, reviving forgotten connections and proving that the sea can be a bridge, not a barrier. Justin Wu and Rick Lowett in Taidong County for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. Before we go, let's take a look at the sacred celebrations in Sri Lanka and Indonesia. The annual festival commemorates the birth, enlightenment and death of the Buddha. I'm Sani Chi, take care and see you next time.